I kind of want to talk about Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
No one is getting people to arenas as much as Caitlin Clark right now. And I was going to ask if Caitlin Clark could have the biggest impact on a sport since Tiger Woods.
That's a great question. You see, I was going down the rabbit hole. So
just as far as eyes on the sport, I think it's possible.
I think what's working in Caitlin Clark's favor, if I'm being honest, is she is the closest thing to Steph Curry that you will ever see, in whether it's in men's or women's basketball, right? And the fact that so many people play like Steph Curry now, they can now identify with a female athlete that's also playing like that, and it's exciting to see. And now people like me who have daughters that watch basketball with them that are somewhat excited about basketball, if I can show her, hey, this girl's really good, now people get really excited to watch that.
We can't just have all giants. What kind of small guys are
like, he's got to get him. He's got to get him.
We got to pack it up.
Because if we don't get it, somebody else is going to get it.
And drink straight out the bottle.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WFK podcast. You got the Patty V. You got the Dave Rainey.
What it do?
What it do, boo-boo. So appreciative to have you guys with us tonight, man. You know, we acknowledge you all that listen, that watch all the time, but it's normally at the end. And let's be real, we've seen the metrics. A lot of people drop off by the end of the podcast. Stick with us. I promise we're fun. Everybody out there that does watch us, though, all like 100 and whatever of you, consistently, inconsistently, whatever it is, we appreciate you. With that being said, welcome to the newest edition of the WFK podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm here, man. I gotta be up in a few hours for work, but I'm alive. I'm well. Life is lifin'. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So life is good.
Life is life.
No complaints.
You got the Jesus piece on?
Oh, usually I have it tucked. just out tonight, I guess.
Just letting it all hang out.
Gotta stay prayed up. You know what I mean?
Always stay prayed up.
Always stay prayed
We
up.
appreciate our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We know he died on the cross for our sins. He risen 3 days later. I don't know. How do they say it? I can't even think right now. Jeez, Louise. You know what I mean. I am a Christian. Let's keep it going. How's life been? We didn't record last week. I was out of town. I feel like so much has happened. And it's kind of like when I wake up, so every day for work, I have a stand-up every morning. And I do a lot of work every day. But in the morning, when somebody asks me, hey, what did you do yesterday? I draw a blank. So just like that, it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. I don't even know what the hell has happened in the last 2 weeks. There's probably a ton for us to talk about. I'm going to throw it to you and hope you got something.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just thinking about this earlier. I came off of nights last night. So I wake up at probably 11 o'clock or so. And like, I know that I was busy all day. Didn't stop moving. And then I sat down, like waiting for you to tell me to come over. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know I was busy today, but what on earth did I accomplish? because I don't know. Like, I know that I didn't stop moving, but I can't tell you one thing that I did besides go to the grocery. And it happens all the time. Like, I know that I don't stop moving from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, but I can't for the life of me know what I did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if the things I'm doing are just so insignificant that it's just a bunch of little insignificant things that I don't remember, or what. The only things I tend to remember are the things I leave my house to do. Mm-hmm. If I do stuff at home, I can't tell you by the end of the day.
Yeah.
My brain is just,
I feel that,
going a mile a minute.
I genuinely feel that because I pack so many different little things into the day. I will forget within 5 seconds of me walking into a room why I'm in that room. And I'll be like, God, I was in the middle of doing something. I came in here for something. Whatever. I guess I'll just go back to doing something else. Like, move on.
That happens all the time. Like, I just completely forget. Even, like, I'll open my phone to look something up. And I'm like, but one little thing will happen. Like, away from my phone. I'm like, what the hell was I about to do here? Like, I don't. And then I gotta like close my phone, start all over, basically go through the process again.
Try and recapture the moment. What was I thinking? Why was I in this closet?
Like this morning at like 4:15 before I was getting ready to leave work, I was like just trying to, because I pay my credit cards every Friday, and I usually do it as I'm getting ready to leave work. And I opened it up, but then somebody called the office phone, and I just completely forgot. I'm looking at my phone like, what the hell was I about to do?
I do it all the time.
So
the time.
I lock my phone and I'm like, let's try this again. We'll see what comes up.
I feel bad. I'll be in conversations with my wife sometimes, and we will be having a deep conversation that will lead to a thought where I'll be like, oh, I'm going to look that up. Let me look that up. And I'll open my phone, and for whatever reason, when I open my phone, I see notifications from random social medias, and I'll be like, oh, and I'll click that, and then boom, I'm off. I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. It's like, oh, well, Rel Myers said that Trey Murphy III, and then I totally forgot that I was supposed to be checking something about taxes or something like that, and then I'm lost in the sauce.
Yeah, and I know you do this just because of like your job. I've really had to start relying on like putting things on my calendar, or like on my reminders on my phone. Yeah, to make sure even like the smallest things. Because I had read a book like I think it was like Atomic Habits was the book. I mean that's a real popular book. Everybody knows that. And it was just one of the things they said to do was put every like little thing from eat breakfast to major things like on your to-do list, and I had to start doing that. It was the only thing that really got me to stay in line, basically.
I don't do it enough. I mean, my work stuff, I'll do that, but I really do appreciate a good to-do list for myself because it makes me feel so much more accomplished. Just like helps your mental, right? Like some days you could do 1,000 things, and at the end of the day, you're like, man, I didn't do anything today. Kind of like what you were saying, like you don't remember anything you did. Maybe you did a bunch of important stuff, but it was kind of mundane, little things around the house. You picked up trash, you took out the trash, you cut the grass, whatever it is. Not that he cuts his grass, he's got a robot.
Not at the moment. It's really giving me issues. Anyway.
Yeah, but no, it's you forget. And if you write it down, there's a lot to be said about just checking that stuff off. It means a lot.
Yeah, that's what they say. If you put it on there, you're more likely to get it done.
Yeah.
But that's why we don't remember what we do, because the things we're doing around the house are you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Like you remember the things you don't do every day. Like, you don't go to the grocery every day, so you'll remember when you leave that you left your house and go to the grocery.
I kind of do go to the grocery every day, but that's...
I don't. But I don't. My life is just such a pattern, I guess, is the best way to put it at the moment, especially when I'm working so much. It's just the same thing every day, so I just don't remember what I do the time I'm home.
That sucks.
It does suck. It is.
I'm sorry, man.
It can be rough. But it's all right. We're here.
So now that we've talked about nothing for the first 15 minutes of the podcast, maybe that explains why people don't watch all the way to the end.
You know what? I disagree. I think that's relatable.
I think it is too. It is relatable. But some people, I don't know. Some people might just be like, oh, God, here we go again. They're going to go off on a tangent.
I don't care. You get what you get, and you like it, or you don't.
You deal with it. There's a lot going on. I mean, we could talk sports. We could talk pop culture. We've got a pretty cool March Madness tournament going on right now, and I don't mean basketball. I mean best television series or show or whatever you want to call it ever. Some surprises.
Trying to pull this up.
Yeah, you want to see who's left on that thing?
Yeah, I think I remember, but I don't want to.
I'll call out one thing. One surprise to me is that South Park is on a Cinderella run. Cinderella.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of weird to say that because like there was no seedings.
That's true.
Like it wasn't a 16 seed, but you just don't assume.
You don't think South Park.
I was surprised. The first round, one of the things I wrote down that stood out from the first round was that every animated series in the bracket made it through the first round. Oh. Every single one. It was like Futurama, The Simpsons. Futurama was one I was like, it's in there, but I don't know that it's going to make it anywhere. Yeah. Like, I expected The Simpsons to go on a run. I'm not as surprised by Family Guy doing that. South Park, I'm surprised because I know South Park isn't for everybody. Yeah. So
South Park's a little wild.
That's why I'm trying to look up the matchups it's had to see if it had a nice little easy path and see what it got through. Yeah. It beat Dexter last round. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. I feel like Dexter's a big show.
It had.
It's interesting because I've seen people discussing what should win, and you could tell that like everybody's background is different. Like it's just so interesting seeing like what motivates people and what people like about certain shows. Mm-hmm. Like I think one person said like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air basically was their childhood, and they're like, how on earth is Fresh Prince not in it? But who'd they lose? They lost to a pretty big show. I mean, I voted for Fresh Prince, but
Fresh Prince lost last round is The Sopranos.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the other thing. The only seeds that were determined as one seeds were the 4 shows at the top, and they've all made it through, which is expected. Game of Thrones, Sopranos, The Wire, and Breaking Bad. I thought Breaking Bad was in the fight for its life against The Office last round.
Ooh, that was a tough one. Yeah. I was surprised The Office didn't make it through because there's some hardcore Office fans. I don't care about Breaking Bad. I think I voted for The Office. Yeah. But I am not one that would like. There's most people that like The Office would shout from the rooftop that it's the best show ever.
Yeah.
I'm not on that side, but I was surprised.
Well, there's a lot of. It's funny because like when you had the Office matchup against Breaking Bad, or even I'm looking when you get like the serious, like right now you have the Sopranos matching, or the Sopranos matching up against Fresh Prince. Like it's two different types of shows. Like
Right.
the Sopranos, you have to be dialed in to it. Breaking Bad, you have to be dialed into it every episode. Whereas The Office is one where once you've seen it once, it's one of those ones where you can just throw it on in the background
Yeah.
and just let it play. And
Same-
that's a special kind of show.
Same like Fresh Prince.
Yeah, so it's a special kind of show, and like people get on there like, how on earth could the Fresh Prince be competing against the Sopranos? And it's like not everybody wants a show that they have to be. There's something to the ease of rewatchability,
Yeah.
if that's a word.
Yeah.
Like I like Game of Thrones. It's probably my favorite show of all time, but I've only seen it twice
Yeah.
all the way through, and I've only seen it twice because it took that such a long gap off that I rewatched it before like the last season.
Yeah.
So it's not a show that I want to go back and watch again because I don't have time to sit there and dial into an hour, you know, and binge it that kind of way.
Yeah.
Whereas The Office, I've seen it maybe 15 times, but I've only really seen it like
So-
twice.
Not to get all philosophical here, but I have a belief from a psychological standpoint. There's a book called Power of Moments. And basically what it explains is that the way you remember things are all based on highs and lows. So like something like The Fresh Prince or The Office, while you may love that show, you're kind of always in the middle. Like it's funny. You're like, oh, I really like this show. It's really funny. But when you watch it a million times and it's just something that like you just do to pass the time, it's not as emotionally attached. Like you're not as emotionally attached. Whereas like if you watched Game of Thrones weekly and it was like you were always looking forward to that next episode, or like even like The Sopranos was the same way. That show was massive when it was going on. Like people still are really upset about the way it ended. There's an emotional attachment there, and psychologically the power of moments, like you're gonna think more highly of something like that where you have this high as opposed to this like constant medium.
Yeah. Interesting. The Wire's going to win this whole thing.
You think so?
I think so.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either, to be fair. Like I've never seen it. I think I've voted for it every round because I've seen the other shows and I'm like, man. Actually, I think I voted for Married with Children against The Wire.
I did.
I think I did.
because and that's talking about emotions. I've never seen The Wire. I grew up watching Married with Children.
Yeah.
I watched it with my dad when I was a kid.
When we talked last week or whatever, a couple weeks ago about shows that you watched with your parents, Married with Children was definitely one of them, and I didn't think about it until
not appropriate, actually. Not appropriate.
Friends getting out of there in the second round, kind of a shocker.
Millennials,
But it lost to The Simpsons, so I guess not.
People younger than me don't like Friends. I've noticed that. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I think people my age like worship Friends.
Really? Because I feel like people your age and younger like really don't care for it. Most people I meet, they don't get it.
You know what it is? At least for me, it always seems to be either The Office or Friends.
Yeah.
There's definitely a battle between the two. There's people, of course, that like both.
Sure.
But like, I love The Office, and I don't not like Friends because I like The Office. Friends just isn't for me. Like I've seen episodes that I get some laughs out of it, but like it just doesn't do it for me, and that's all. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad show. I get on here and be like, oh, Friends sucks, but that's a bit. Like,
it's a bit. Don't tell people it's a bit. That ruins it. Who's left? What are our teams? Our shows left?
We have 8 shows left. We have The Wire versus The Simpsons. Which I think The Wire's just going to run away with this.
Yeah.
But it could be sneaky close. I wouldn't be surprised. The Simpsons has a cult following.
It does.
It's been around for a long time.
There's another one you're going to name that surprises me that it's still there, and I'll say why when we get to it.
The other one, Breaking Bad and Seinfeld.
That's the one.
Seinfeld?
I'm surprised Seinfeld's still there. Seinfeld is by far one of the GOATs when it comes to comedic television, like series. But I felt like, I don't know who the followers are. I don't know who's voting. I felt like the crowd that may be voting on it would just be way too young to actually vote it through. And the fact that it's still standing is really surprising to me.
Realistically, though, all these shows are old.
Yeah, but when you're talking about Seinfeld, like you're talking like mid-90s was like the end of it. Or like late 90s was the end of it. Whereas like The Wire was like recent.
Yeah, that's true. I voted Parks and Rec over Seinfeld.
I get that for you. What,
I-
did you ever watch Seinfeld?
I don't care for Jerry Seinfeld.
That's fair.
Just as a comedian, it's not my style.
Yeah.
So the show is fine, but it's not for me.
I'm not, admittedly, I guess I haven't watched a lot of TV shows. I've watched the big ones, and I say the big ones, but like I've never really watched Parks and Rec. I've watched Seinfeld, but it was because my dad watched Seinfeld when I was younger, so I knew Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But like,
We have The Sopranos and South Park, like we just talked about. That one's going to be close, I think. South Park is somehow running through this because I don't think it's even had a close one. I think it's just been running through this.
yeah,
And then Better Call Saul and Game of Thrones. I think that's going to be the closest matchup of the two. Game of Thrones barely got past Curb.
yeah.
That's one that
Well, Curb has a cult following
Yeah.
too, though.
Curb is tough. X-Files had a little run, which I was surprised by. But it had some easy matchups.
Yeah.
It got past Freaks and Geeks. And, well, it got past Golden Girls.
Oh yeah, I was surprised Golden Girls didn't make it.
Yeah.
I was voting on that hard. I was pressing the button extra hard on Golden Girls.
Look at that. The bracket with the Breaking Bad bracket was rough because it had like all the comedies. So it had The Jeffersons, Family Guy, The Office, Always Sunny, Futurama, Atlanta, How I Met Your Mother, Parks and Rec, and Seinfeld.
That's tough.
So it's like all the
All right.
comedies got out.
So who wins? That's what I was getting at.
I think it's going to be The Wire. For me, the one that I'm going to vote for is Game of Thrones. And then once that's out, so I'm going to probably push for Game of Thrones and South Park, but they can't get to the finals against each other. So I'm probably going to say Game of Thrones and The Simpsons are the two I'm going to vote for. Because I've never seen The Wire, so I'm voting for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And, if you hate that, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't disagree. I think Game of Thrones wins if I have to pick one.
Really?
And I think it's just because of what Game of Thrones represents. Like The Wire is also massive. It is. But Game of Thrones had such a reaction in the beginning and then also at the end with how pissed off everybody was.
That was going to be my thing. So I don't know anything about The Wire, but the way people talk about it is it's almost like it's universally looked at as the best show of all time.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anybody say they don't like the way it ended or like they didn't like any part of it. Game of Thrones has diehard fans. Like, I'm not one of them. I didn't mind the ending. But diehard Game of Thrones fans, some of them hated the ending, and it ruined the show for them.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that hurts its chances. Clearly, it's still getting through here. But I think if you go one-on-one with those two,
The great one.
you have The Wire, which people think is perfect all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
You're nitpicking at that point, right? So it's like if you've watched both and you really like both, I think people choose The Wire.
Okay. That's fair. I've never seen The Wire, so I can't speak against it or for it. I've known. I didn't even watch Game of Thrones in the beginning for a long time. I started watching Game of Thrones at the end. I never made it all the way through because I heard everybody was pissed off about the way it ended. I got to like season 4, which I hear is the best time to stop. So,
Listen, look. So what happens around then is, I think that's the point where it started to depart from the books,
yeah.
or not even depart. Like I think there weren't books anymore.
So they just kind of made it up.
Yeah.
Like what they had. Yeah.
The
Gotcha.
ending, so you could tell. So the ending felt rushed. The last season definitely felt rushed.
Yeah.
That was probably my biggest issue with it. But overall, the upsetting part to people, they didn't get the ending they wanted.
Yeah.
It wasn't that the ending was bad or didn't make sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make as much sense as the ending they wanted. So
Yeah.
that's why people didn't like it.
There's so much. That happens with like every good show though. Everybody gets upset about the way things end. Like people are still upset about the way The Sopranos ended, and it didn't really have a terrible ending. It was just very open ended. It was like, hey, you determine what you think happened, and that's that.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that. They wanted definitive something.
Yeah, with Game of Thrones, people just say that, they don't think the ending made any sense. But to me, it made complete sense.
I heard how it ended, and from what I watched, it made sense.
Yeah, well, they built up to that for the longest time, and then
Right.
that's what happens. And I'm like, it makes sense to me, but I understand it's not what people really wanted, and it's fine. I enjoyed that people went crazy and there was just chaos all around.
Everybody wanted Jon Snow.
Listen, we started Game of Thrones with people just getting murdered
Yeah.
out of the blue.
Oh my
Why not
goodness.
end with it?
That's what hooked me. I know that people didn't like that, but I was like, everybody was talking about it, and I randomly threw it on one night at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. And within the first 3 seconds, it was like horrible like blood and guts, and I was like, oh my god, what? And I was like, do I want to keep watching this? And then there was like incest and all this weird stuff, and for some reason, I decided to watch episode number 2.
I can tell you the reason that it's my favorite is because it was one of those shows, and there's not a ton like this, where they didn't care if this person was essential to the storyline.
Yeah.
Like there's so many. Granted, at the end, the main characters were there.
Yeah.
Right, but there were other main characters throughout the entire thing where you're like, in other shows, you'd be like, "There's no way this person dies." Like if they left you on a cliffhanger, you're like, "There's no way he dies." They didn't care.
No.
Like you were expendable.
Yeah.
So that's why it's my favorite.
It was amazing. What else we got?
I don't know.
You got anything fun?
I don't know.
I didn't come in with any topics.
I don't know if I have anything fun.
No.
Jake Paul's gonna fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah, why?
I don't know, but it made me. I was wondering if there's any other, like, past versus present matchups you'd want to see. Like, I don't.
Mike Tyson versus anyone is always the matchup I want. Or if we're talking like MMA, that would be fun. I just want to see Conor get in the ring again.
Yeah.
Which poor Conor, you can tell he's on a bender every time you see him. It's like this dude's not ready to be in the octagon.
It is. I always want to see, like, I feel like once every couple years we get Michael Jordan talking trash to some young guy saying he could still go out there and hoop.
That'd be fun.
And I'd like to see that one-on-one because I don't like, as good as Michael Jordan was, I don't think he can still do it at 50. Like, I don't think he's getting out there against Jason Tatum one-on-one. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
right. That's probably fair.
Look, I understand how he's competitive, but at some point you fall off, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just put him in the big 3. Let him play one game in the big 3.
Man.
Let's see what's up.
Oh, that would be fun. That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
That's a
good. I wasn't thinking of that. That'd be really cool to see a former basketball player. First of all, the NBA needs to implement a one-on-one tournament. We've been talking about it for years. It would be so much fun, even if it's with retired players. Think of how cool that would be. You got Allen Iverson crossing up 60-year-old Michael Jordan again.
That's who.
Grab your ankles, buddy.
You said big 3. I'd love to see AI get in the big 3.
Yeah.
I just want to see AI hoop again.
I mean, everybody does. I want to see AI hoop again.
Listen, sticking with basketball, is LeBron the greatest athlete of all time?
Oh, we had this conversation once before a long time ago, and we defined it oddly, and we tried to give Justin Tucker love. I'm gonna throw that to the side, though. You remember that?
Yeah, but I think it was a different conversation.
It was,
I understand. My argument is that Justin Tucker is better at his job than any other athlete in the history of sports.
Right, he's the best
Yeah.
athletic. He's the best athlete.
Right, I could make the argument
athlete.
He's the best football player of all time.
Most accomplished. No. In all seriousness, I think the answer might be yes. You know, he has done something for so long at such a high level that you never see. I mean, you from the time he stepped foot on the floor until now, you can put him in the top 25 of the NBA, and that's insanity. That's crazy.
It's the longevity.
Yeah.
Of it. The fact that he's still, like, he's about to be up for a contract, and somebody is going to give him another, like,
For sure.
3-year, $100 million contract.
Even if he only plays a year of it. Fuck it.
Yeah, and like there, you could see there's areas of his game that, like, his defense is kind of falling off a little bit now. Like, he's having
he picks his moments now.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. It's not that his defense is falling off. It's that he just can't give you 100% all the time now, which
now
rightfully so.
Now he's mortal. Now he's at the same level as most NBA players.
But he's still top
25. Yeah, he's still top 25. Unquestionably, you could say top 10.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there are nights where he still looks like the best player in the world. And it's like, if he gets to the playoffs, like, he's gonna look like best player in the world abroad because he knows he's only got.
Oh yeah, because he's gonna go all out.
Yeah, he's like, what, a month, 2 months, and we're done.
Yeah,
like, you know, he's about to go crazy.
That's like seeing him in the game in Vegas in the not championship, but in the playoff run in Vegas, if you want to consider that playoffs, the in season tournament. Yeah. He went balls to the wall. He was all out, and you could tell. You could see old LeBron like hunting people and playing defense. It was crazy. So yes, I mean yes, I don't disagree at all, and I'm not a LeBron fan.
That's what I was gonna say. Do his championships matter at this point?
No, I don't think so. He's got enough of them. The only thing I don't like about him is the way he's gone about jumping teams. But like that's modern NBA. Some people would say that he is the reason that happens in modern NBA. But
I didn't mind it so much from the first time
mm-hmm.
because I felt he gave Cleveland all that he was there for 7 years. They never got him anybody, right? And he still got him to that point. The way he went about leaving was crappy.
But LeBron defenders, and there's some. I'll give him credit. It was for the Boys and Girls Club. It gained a bunch of ratings, and it got money for them. Like, hey,
Yeah. But then,
I still didn't like it.
But from there, like, I don't have a problem with him leaving Miami to go back to Cleveland. Like, it's a cool story. You're going to Cleveland and getting Cleveland a championship.
And you won the championship. And then it's
Right.
like, okay, now what? I think
Right.
in LeBron's mind as a competitor, he's like, okay, I accomplished this goal. Now what?
Yeah, and then you fully understand why he goes to LA. That's
LA.
all life after basketball,
Yeah.
right? And like, especially if the plan the entire time was Bronny to go to USC, he wants to go be close to his kids.
Yeah.
It is what it is. My only thing I don't like about LeBron is how he kind of ruins like the future of every team he goes to. Like you're gonna sell all of your future assets when you have LeBron, which that we've had the discussion before of like, what are you willing to give up in the future for 1 or 2 championships?
Everything.
Right. So it's like, that's I don't know.
The answer is always everything. When we're talking, we could switch gears into that topic. When we're talking winning a championship in any given sport, if it's win now, suck for 3 years, every time I take that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You can be mediocre for 7, but you're never going to win. If you have the opportunity to win, you go all in. I will never, ever, ever argue against that. It's the same thing in football when people are like, hey, this team needs this and they need this. Yeah, but you could focus on the quarterback later. No, you're full of crap. If you can get a quarterback, you get him now. You figure everything else out after the fact.
I know we don't really talk hockey, but that is something that the Knights do every year, and like other teams hate them for how they manipulate. Like, because hockey, you if you put players on, it's the LTIR is what it's called.
Yeah,
like you can use their salary for other players.
Love that.
So like they take advantage of it, and every single year it's like. And it just happens the last 2 years that the same player has gotten hurt. So now they're thinking like, oh, he's faking these injuries and all of this stuff.
That's cruddy.
But they don't care about future draft picks. I don't think I've seen a single like first round draft pick that we've made play for the team. But they go all in every single year.
I kind of get that in sports like hockey and the NBA and things like that, where your roster is a little more condensed and where one guy truly can make a massive difference on your team. I get it. I mean, trade your draft picks. Do whatever you got to. Go all in.
But even in like football, like we saw the Rams do it, and they were bad and not even bad. They were mediocre for a year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years tops.
Yeah. They had every position but quarterback, and their quarterback was still mediocre. And that's, and then they went and got Matt Stafford, who was good enough to get him over the hump.
So it's like, it's worth it, man. There's it just so interesting the different ways you can go about just building the team.
Listen, we've had this conversation a million times too. I feel like it's naturally going into this discussion. The cap in the NFL is not real. I want to be very, very. I get it. I get it. Every single year when you see negative 80 million, it's like oh my God, they keep kicking the can down the road. Like what's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to come to roost. Yeah, but then 3 weeks in, they have 20 million. And they can sign whoever they want. Like, does it matter?
The difference is that. So a team like the Commanders have 80 million in cap space.
How's that working out for them?
Well, listen, but so this is the difference is their front office just kind of sucks. Like maybe they just give the contracts to the wrong players.
The Saints do too, to be fair.
To be fair, but like the Saints can get to 20 million in cap space, right? And they can go get we were talking the other night how they were still able to go get Derek Carr.
Right.
But they were only really able to go get Derek Carr. Whereas if they had a 60 million in cap space, they could get Derek Carr and one of the top linemen and one of the you know what I mean? So they almost can only go all in on one player, which is fine because they do a good job of finding those bargain bin. I prefer that like I don't want to give out huge 3 or 4 huge contracts. I like when they go try and find these mid-class guys like the Kalen Saunders from last year.
Yeah.
Even the other one, Shepard, the one that people thought that were telling us wasn't going to be good.
Shepard
and he was
played
good.
well.
I love this Willie Gay signing.
That's a great
That's
signing.
another one that feels like it's going to be,
That's a great signing.
you know.
Sometimes some of those guys that command big contracts though aren't worth the contract.
No, it's fair, 100%.
And I would argue too, they already had linemen who were paid. So even if
Mm-hmm.
it was a team with cap room, they weren't going to go sign linemen either. They're not going to pay multiple linemen that much money. Like that's just how the NFL is,
Yeah.
right? I argued when we had this discussion, and I'll say it again. I think they just gave money to the wrong players, and they've had some bad breaks. Ramczyk, who knows if he's going to play again or if he's going to be healthy, and you got money tied up there. Like there's some issues there.
Yeah, I mean,
who you've paid.
I think ideally you would not want to have to do this every year. You know what I mean? Like, and I think I don't think this was always the plan. I know, like the COVID stuff screwed everything up.
Yeah.
Like I know Nick's talked about that a lot, how that really ruined not just them, like that hurts the entire league.
Yeah.
Right. And there'll be a day where I think they eventually don't have to do 80 million in cap stuff. You know,
I think you're going to start to see it come down a little bit too, like with what's happening this year, where Michael Thomas is gone now. You know, you're starting to see some other guys.
Feels like a soft reset almost.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're ever going to be. I mean, they only the only reset we ever really saw, at least for me, was when they traded Jimmy that year. When after the 7 and 9 seasons, and they made what, like maybe 2 big trades or something that year. Like it wasn't a major thing.
They traded Jimmy for Max Unger.
Yeah, and it was I don't know. Like I don't think we're ever going to see that from them. Like a hard rebuild.
I don't think that you should do that.
I'm with you.
In the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't think that that's worth it. Like a lot of people think that way, and they're like, yeah, just hard rebuild, suck, get some top draft picks. Okay, how's that worked out for every other team that's done that? It has not. It hasn't.
Yeah, the only team that you can really look at that was awful and were able to turn it around after like a rebuild was like Texans last year.
Yeah, they
like,
hit
you
on
have
Stroud.
to and you could probably make the argument like the Colts when they drafted Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
But but they were only really bad that one year because Peyton was out.
I think,
right?
but
So
that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you can get a quarterback,
Yeah.
you go get that quarterback, because
Yeah.
you see how quickly C.J. Stroud turned around that team. Now, granted, they have a new coaching staff. Maybe the coaching staff helps with that. You know, they hit on Tank Dell. You know, they got some good picks and pieces that came in.
when you get 2 picks in the top 3, also.
Right.
Like
You had a good draft.
yeah.
You have to still have those good drafts, though. Like you can, a lot of teams butcher it. They fumble it.
Look at Carolina. Like
Not enough people. I know Bryce Young. People have hated on him. Not enough. Most of the time, a top pick plays like Bryce Young played, and he's crucified.
I think he gets a little bit of a pass for the first year from people, at least for me, because of how terribly that team is run. Like he had no offensive line at all, and like they traded. You don't draft a rookie quarterback and trade your best weapon away. You know what I mean?
Well, they traded the weapon to get him. That was part of it. So in that sense, maybe, but still.
But like, they went and get him Adam Thielen. That's a good receiver to have for a rookie. But like, I don't know. They just didn't do a good job of building around him. But it takes time. But in today's NFL, like he doesn't have 5 years to be good.
No, he's got like 3.
If they suck, I don't like off the top of my head, I don't know the quarterback class for next year. But if they suck again, I don't even know if they have a first round pick next year. But like if they were in the Bears position next year, and there's a quarterback, they're taking him. Like I think it's just that simple. Like look at Justin Fields. He's not a terrible quarterback. Like I think you can build a team around Justin Fields under the right coaches, the right weapons. But when in this day and age, like when another guy is there, especially somebody like Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, like you make the move.
I think that's what I'm most intrigued about, right? Just the quarterback carousel in general. It feels like a lot of teams have figured out who they want to go with. You can see some teams who have clearly said, hey, I'm going to trade for this guy, or I'm going to pick up this vet. I'm drafting a quarterback. Like you can kind of see it.
It's crazy how quickly teams just move on from rookies. We just saw it. Sam Howell was solid
Yeah,
He's gone.
he was up and down, but his highs were
from
high.
where he was drafted.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't expected to be that good as
He's
rookie year.
the type of guy that you probably expect to say, okay, we'll give him another year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sam Howell, gone. Kenny Pickett, gone. Which I don't think Kenny Pickett is good. But gave up on him after,
He's
2 years?
better than Dan Marino, and I will stand on that.
I don't know if that's ever seen the light of day, has it?
I don't think we put it out.
Anyway, Desmond Ritter, gone.
Yeah, Ritter was terrible. Let's be real.
But still, like, he was only in the league for 2 years. Like,
Yeah,
Peyton Manning wasn't great right away.
No.
You know what I mean?
I hate that you're right, but I hate that we always use Peyton Manning as
It's just the first name that comes to my mind. Like,
No, I know.
most quarterbacks were not like, they don't come in lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
You know, because
But Peyton was abysmal. He
Yeah.
was bad his first
Yeah.
year, if we're being real.
I mean, but when you think, like, these guys, the top quarterbacks tend to go to bad teams, so like they don't come in looking good.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud just got lucky with a great coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they hit on other weapons, and it's just everything mixed perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. So I guess another reason I was bringing that up is you see teams starting to fill their positions. They're mocking 4 quarterbacks in the first round. Do you think you see 4 quarterbacks go in the first round? I didn't think it had ever happened before, and then I went and looked back, and it's happened multiple times. So it's not as far fetched as I thought.
5 in the past.
Yeah, we've had a few pretty deep quarterback drafts. Most recent was like Zach Wilson. I don't know why he's the first one I think of, but it was that draft. I think it was 4 quarterbacks went in that one.
So
with Love going as the last guy in the first round.
Caleb,
29.
Jaden, Drake May, 100% going in the first round. Who's the 4th?
People are arguing JJ or
JJ. I think JJ goes in the first.
Bo Penix.
Bo Nix, Michael Penix.
Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Yeah, I'm sorry, confused or combining the two. Yeah, I mean, I think Michael Penix. If I said this in our group chat, in my opinion, and I may get crucified for this, Penix is a 3rd round pick. If he's there in the 3rd round, I'd take a shot on him.
For me, so admittedly, I didn't watch a ton of Michael Penix games, right? But when I did watch them, there were moments where you can see it, and it's like, whew,
Yeah,
like this dude is like has it. And then there's other times where I'm like, I don't get it. But I will say this: part of it, I think, is him being a lefty, because everything he does looks weird.
yeah.
It's the same thing with Tua. I'm not sold on Tua still, and I think it's because he's like, it sounds ridiculous, but I think there's something to it. Just looks weird.
It does.
You know
look
what I
weird.
mean? But there's still moments where with Michael Penix where I'm like I don't know. Like, to me, 2nd round feels like a sweet spot to him.
It's not a bad, like, if someone picked him in the 2nd round, I wouldn't be like, oh, you reached.
I don't even think I'd feel that way if they took him like at the end of the first.
I would.
Number one, because you get that extra year on the contract. So if somebody trades up to 32 and takes him just to get 5 years, because he's got to sit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can have him for 5 years, sure.
I think if you believe in him, sure. Like, if you're a team that really, if you've done your scouting on him and you really believe in him, go for it. But I would pick him more if he like fell to me, if I'm going to be honest. If I'm picking a quarterback in the first round, if I'm moving up for a quarterback, it's probably not going to be Nix.
You mean
Penix? Why it ends with Nix?
Well, Bo Nix is kind of in the same situation, because like he was really good last year.
He was,
and
there's a lot of unknown with him though.
How he was in college for 10 years?
He had one good year out of 10.
No, I understand. So did Joe Burrow. Like, let's be real.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? No, granted, his 1 year was the greatest quarterback thing, performance we've ever seen.
Yeah,
But like, it's the same path, in a way. He was average.
sort of the same path. They weren't both in school for 10 years.
No, they weren't. That's true. But like, people always seem to forget that the first year of Joe Burrow at LSU was not great.
No, it wasn't.
That like the shock. The way we were shocked with Jaden Daniels this year, I was just as shocked when Joe Burrow came out.
Yeah.
It was that good.
100%.
The following year.
I won't sit here and pretend that I thought Joe Burrow was going to light the world on fire, because I even said going into that year that LSU was going to be bad. Orgeron was going to get fired. I said they're going to win like 7 games. And then I ate every single one of those words. I was so wrong.
Yeah. It's interesting with Bo Nix. I don't know. I said it in our group chat last night. There's not a single quarterback that I would be mad that we take if it's at the right point. Like if we reached for Bo Nix in the first round, I'd be like, ugh.
I'd be a little upset. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd talk myself into it if I'm being
Right.
honest. I'm going to talk
You know
myself
what, though?
into anything.
Because I've wanted them to draft a quarterback so badly, I might just be like, you know what? Great.
Cool.
Like,
Awesome. Thank you.
finally. Does this help us? I don't know.
Probably not.
But yeah, I just, I don't know. Like, I'd be all for them taking a quarterback in the second round. And there's a handful of them.
Yeah.
Like, you could, in between second and third, you could give me Nix, Pratt, Penix, all of them between second and third, and I'd be happy. Even you don't like Spencer Rattler at all, but if you give me Spencer Rattler at the end of the third round, I'm fine.
I said it the other night. I don't want Spencer Rattler. I'll be completely honest. But there is a time in the draft where if Rattler's on the board, get him. Right? Like and like you said, agreeing with what you said, like there's a time where I would draft a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
worth a shot.
This has been looked at as the deepest
Yeah.
draft for quarterbacks for a couple of years now. It's been one that people have been looking forward to.
Sure. And like I said a couple minutes ago, I'm going to talk myself into anything. As a Saints fan, it is just what I do. I'm going to talk myself into it. I have already talked myself into freaking Peterman being on the roster.
Dude, it's not even quarterback though. Like the second they draft anybody, everybody does all these mock drafts, you know, and realistically after this first round, half the time we're like, who the hell is this guy? Right? Like,
sometimes.
Most of us, except for like people that really deep dive into it, we're like, who the hell is this guy? Then they show you this highlight tape and you're like, oh, I'm sold. Like every time. Like when they drafted Kamara, we were all like, who the hell is this guy? And then we saw the highlight tape and we were all like, I can see it. I can see how this works.
You know what? I didn't talk myself into Kamara until like the first preseason game. And then I saw him like light the world on fire. I was like, oh, yep, he's the guy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah, I love it. What else we got?
I'm looking to see if I had any other sports stuff. I have. I kind of want to talk about Caitlin Clark
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
because we don't really do State of the Pels anymore, and that was kind of our avenue of talking
Our basketball
of
release.
basketball. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many? So Caitlin Clark is the biggest draw in, and I'm gonna say this, not in women's basketball, in all of basketball. No one is getting people to arenas as much as Caitlin Clark right now. So much so, and this is, my question is, how many like draws are there like that in sports? Somebody that brings people. So much so that Fox, so Iowa basketball ratings were doing so well on Fox that Fox offered her an NIL deal to try to convince her to stay another year so that they could continue to get the ratings. Nobody has ever gotten a deal like that before.
Here's an idea. Just sponsor the WNBA and make it a viable professional sport.
True. 100%.
Sorry.
No,
I have a whole, like, I get so frustrated with people that argue against why the WNBA players don't get paid and it's blah, blah, blah. Well, if you look at ratings, their ratings are a lot higher than some other sports where players get paid a lot more and they just don't get the money. So it is what it is. That's sponsorships. That's not the WNBA itself, but continue.
With her specifically, like this feels like an inflection point for the WNBA because I'm so interested to see if what she has done for college basketball carries over.
You know, and I don't mean to keep hijack because I just hijacked it a little bit and I'm going to hijack it again with slightly different conversation. I think there's a lot of players in college basketball right now that bring that value, not her value, but bring that value. And I think that this has been said a number of times, not by me, but others. The women's college basketball game right now is more exciting than professional women's basketball. So as these girls move up, does that then continue? Right? That's where my mind is.
You know what's interesting? I'm not somebody that until recently, probably over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, really cared about women's basketball. Not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just I never watched it. I don't have a team. And that's really what it is. Like if I don't have a team, I don't really watch.
Yeah.
But I can name more women's college basketball players right now than men's by a lot.
Oh, for sure.
A lot.
Which is crazy, actually. I didn't even think of that. I can definitely name more women's.
I don't know that I can name one men's college basketball player.
I didn't even think
Kyle
of that.
Filipowski. That's the only one I got, and
There
that's
you go.
because he's tripping guys all over the court. And he's a Duke. I can always name the one Duke player, like outside of like the Miami basketball players.
What is it about Duke players tripping people?
I don't know, man. He claims he didn't, but listen, we saw it.
So did the other guy.
Yeah, but outside of like the Miami, like I'm not counting that. The Miami basketball players, some of the Tulane guys, like the teams that you
Sure.
watch, right?
Yeah.
I can like the LSU has at least 4 of them that you can name.
You talking about women's?
Yeah,
Yeah. for
I
sure.
always got Caitlin Clark. Like, I just the you can feel the momentum in women's basketball. I'm probably women's sports in general right now,
Yeah.
and it's just there's more attention on it, and she has a lot
Yeah.
to do with it.
She does. And getting back to your question, like how many other players out there are like that? I think a lot of them are in the NBA, if we're being real. You got, and like if you go NFL, if I throw NBA to the side, you got like Patrick Mahomes, right? You got,
Yeah, it is tough though, because it's like I don't know how I want to word this. Like she's selling out a. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the videos, the lines
Yeah.
of people trying to get. It's like the most ridiculous ticket in sports,
yeah,
but it's a smaller scale compared to Patrick Mahomes trying to sell out a.
sure.
Like he's not. No matter what, he's not getting. Him alone is not getting 80,000 people in a stadium, right?
That's true.
Like, who's gone really watch Iowa basketball like that?
No,
without
no.
her. You know what I mean?
I mean,
this
I'm
is
sure
not,
that-
this is not a shot at like Iowa is not this is not South Carolina. They're not LSU. They're not like these UConn, the top tier women's teams that we always think of.
Yeah.
So it's like that's not happening without her. And then I think just like last year you had Angel Reese and LSU, you know, are draw on their own, but them matching up, I think felt like the point where it's like, women's
it's
college
beautiful.
basketball is here.
Yeah. It was beautiful. Well, you thought for a second, and her name, I know her name, and she plays for LSU right now. She came from South Carolina. Was it South Carolina? Maybe it wasn't South Carolina.
Which one?
I can't think of her name. Doesn't matter. Little white blonde girl.
Oh,
dating
Haley.
Haley.
Yeah.
Haley Van Lith. It felt like that. Did she come from South Carolina before I continue
Louisville.
this? Louisville. That's right. Because in my head, I was like, wait, South Carolina's really good still.
See, but even the fact that I know where she came from LSU, that like it blows my mind that I'm able to know this.
Well, but what I'm getting at is like there were a few teams that had really high profile. Like she was a very high profile player last year, and coming to LSU was a massive deal, and it hasn't really worked out like you thought it would. But neither here nor there. What I'm getting at is you're right. Like there's women's college basketball and women's sports in general are definitely on the rise. I mean, it's really cool to see. I don't have any other thoughts on that. That's just what I want to say.
I don't know that there's. I just think that she is, because of the sport she's in, and because it's a sport that, like, I don't want to sound like disingenuous, but it's a sport that needs a
It does.
major star like that.
It does.
Because
Be
I
honest.
feel bad saying that because they have people, like they have stars, like the Aces have stars, and Sabrina just did the thing with Steph. So,
Sure.
like they have stars, but for some reason she feels different.
She's
It's because she. I mean, number one, it's because she's so good.
let's be honest. I was gonna say let's be honest. Like yes, like Sabrina star. There's other players in the WNBA stars, not superstars probably. And when I think of that, I compare it to you need these sports that have these transcendent players to really bring eyes. I go all the way back to the PGA Tour, if I can go that far back. Right, Jack Nicklaus star. Like other guys at the time, Greg Norman, whoever you want to name back in the day, star. Vijay Singh, star, right? All these top golfers. Who the hell are those guys, though? Like, nobody can name those guys right now. Tiger Woods brought everyone to PGA, brought everybody to the tour.
So I almost asked this question in the group chat the other day, because shout out to Dylan. You know, he likes to come in with a random like question, like big picture question. And I was gonna ask if Caitlin Clark could have the biggest impact on a sport since Tiger Woods.
That's a great question. You see, I was going down the rabbit hole. So
And when you said that, I'm like, maybe, and I didn't ask it because I was like, all right, it feels a little bit like a reach. But then when you start going down that rabbit hole, I'm like, maybe I'm not the only one that's thinking this.
We'll
There's
see.
a different aspect to it because golf, it was more of like a white sport.
sure,
You know, so there's the race aspect of it with Tiger. And, you know, obviously there's not here. But just as far as eyes on the sport, I think it's possible.
I think what's working in Caitlin Clark's favor, if I'm being honest, is she is the closest thing to Steph Curry that you will ever see in whether it's in men's or women's basketball, right? And the fact that so many people play like Steph Curry now, they can now identify with a female athlete that's also playing like that, and it's exciting to see. And now people like me who have daughters that watch basketball with them that are somewhat excited about basketball, if I can show her, hey, this girl's really good, now people get really excited to watch that.
That's been the coolest thing for me with her is when they show the sellout crowds. There's kids there's girls in the crowd dressed like her.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's what really made me start. Like naturally now she's starting to get some haters,
of course,
right? And people are like, oh well, she's not really that good, or like she's not that. Some of the experts like she's not the all time great yet, and whatever. I'm like, who cares? Like, look at this little girl in the crowd right now.
Right.
Like she's dressing like Caitlin Clark, a college basketball player.
Exactly.
Like that's cool. I had been wanting to talk about her for a while, but I stopped.
I love it.
Like I said, I stopped doing that, and we've been kind of just going off on nonsense lately. So
that's fair. You know how it is. We talk about whatever comes up, whatever falls out of our mouth. It's the podcast about everything and nothing all at the same time.
Indeed. I don't have a top 5 this week, but I did get a request from somebody that we should start bringing them back. So
okay.
Future reference. Let's start. Actually, it was Eric.
Yeah.
He sent me a picture. He was watching like episode 13, like just going through the deep cuts. And he was like, I don't know if y'all do top 5s, but you should bring them back. They're really entertaining.
Can you think of a random subject that we could dive into a top 5 for?
So in my search to come up with a bracket before I did the shows, one of the options I had was the best bread bracket.
Okay.
So if you want to do top 5,
do you want to do a top 5 or a draft for that?
We could. I don't know if that I'm gonna be able to draft. Can I pull up another list like we did for the fruit?
No, I just wanted to go off the dome. That's fair. I had like 3 that popped.
I was
in
gonna say
my
if
head.
we do 3 rounds, maybe I could do.
We could do 3 rounds.
Okay.
3 rounds draft. Best bread draft.
All right.
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
What you got?
Hawaiian rolls.
Oh, that's a good one. There's so many that I want to take in the first round, but I'm trying to think of if you're going to think of these other ones. If I'm going first round, I gotta go croissant. I feel like croissant is really up there.
But are you giving me Texas Roadhouse rolls and Hawaiian rolls?
Well, see, you're grabbing brands here. Like, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of actual bread.
Oh well, see, I was going. Well, Hawaiian rolls is the brand is Hawaiian.
It's sweet bread.
But it's
it's a sweet roll.
But no, see, I'm
Texas Roadhouse is also kind of a sweet roll. They're basically the same thing.
what I'm thinking. First off, I was trying to think of 64 bread options. So it was gonna be Texas Roadhouse rolls. It was gonna have to get pretty specific here.
I'm thinking of specific bread types. I'm gonna just list my top breads instead of doing this draft.
Because my third one is also another brand.
Okay. So I was gonna go. Actually, I wasn't gonna go with the croissant first because but at first when you said Hawaiian roll, I was like, oh, he might go croissant. I got to take this. Love a good croissant, focaccia, ciabatta, any type of like a Asiago bread with like the cheese on top, like things like that. Give me that.
Yeah. My list was just brands. It was Hawaiian rolls, Roadhouse, bunny bread.
Oh, for sure.
Dave.
Never gonna eat bunny bread.
Dave's bread.
Dave's Killer Bread, 100%. That's the only thing I buy. Shout out Dave's Killer Bread.
If I had to give you a 5th favorite bread, money.
Money? Oh, okay. Jesus. All right, Shane.
That feels like a fun way to end it.
We could end it like that. I was gonna shout out potato bread, but we can end it on just
potato bread.
Potato. You never had a potato bread roll? Oh, so good.
No,
So good. Get you a little smash burger with potato bread. It's just super soft.
so.
It's basically like white bread, but it's super soft.
Okay, where are we on wraps? Does that fall into the bread category?
I mean, yeah.
I like a good.
It's
wrap.
made out of the same stuff,
I
basically.
love a good wrap.
Yeah. See, now where it's a slippery slope, though, because like wraps turn into tortillas, and tortillas are not bread. Tortillas.
Oh, see, when I say wrap, I'm thinking tortilla. That's just what I refer to a tortilla.
That's fair.
as.
I think if it's like a wheat tortilla, then yes, we can consider it bread. But if we're going down like the actual traditional tortilla, like the corn,
Yeah, see,
like mesa?
I'm thinking like a flour or a whole wheat tortilla.
yeah, we could consider
You
that
can't
bread.
because like once you say lettuce wraps, clearly not bread.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what is this like? Is non bread? I mean, yes, it's actually called bread, non bread. Okay, I take that back. Flat bread, yes, also bread.
I will say the most underrated bread is like the Dave's bread, everything bagel, the green one, whatever the green one is. Honestly, anything Dave's bread is phenomenal.
I love their green package burger buns. They're so good.
That's one with the seeds on it?
That's the one with the seeds on it. So good.
Yeah, so I think everything that comes in green for them is with the seeds. So the
Power seed.
the bagel is essentially the same thing.
Yeah, that's all I buy is the green ones. I have them in the fridge right now.
But
also,
honestly,
put your bread in the fridge.
Yeah,
you
just
weirdos.
Even just their plain regular buns though are so good. I don't know what they do to them. They're sweet. They're great.
They do have a little sugar in them, if you read the back. That was the one thing. I was like, oh, this is all these good ingredients, but why does it have
I don't buy their
6 or 5 grams of sugar?
I don't buy their regular bread that often. I buy the bagels more often than anything.
Yeah.
That was a good conversation.
Shout out Dave's Killer Bread.
Shout out Dave's Bread. I'm not eating a lot of bread right now. I'm trying to cut back on it. So
I need to, man. I just went out of town. Shout out Park City. We didn't even talk about this. I went on vacation. I went snowboarding for the first time. I might put out a compilation of me just eating dirt. Snow, whatever you want to call it. Dirty snow. Also, snow is dirty. Snow is dirty. You ever been around snow?
I've been to, in Seattle.
Yeah.
Went up to Mount Rainier. Did that.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
But I was like maybe 5 years old, 6 years old. So I didn't care.
It's like the novelty of snow is really cool. My wife really liked it, and I felt like she liked it because she felt like it was like a Hallmark movie or something, or like we're in a snow globe. And it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. When it freshly fell or when you're like on the mountain, beautiful.
I will say the scenery from where y'all were staying was amazing.
It was beautiful. But when you're walking down the street and the flurry picks up and like, snow's water, guys. I'm just letting you guys know. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, we we're going to Tennessee, and she said she wants to see snow, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, how the hell am I going to drive up this mountain?
Yeah.
Like, I think as I've gotten older, I'm thinking of the practicality of snow,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yes,
looks great, but it's ice.
That was my problem. We're walking around, and I'm like, this is beautiful, and she's in heaven. And I'm like, all right, 3 days of this is enough. I don't need any more of this. And it's like flurrying, and I'm looking at the ground because we're walking down Main Street, and they've snow plowed this stuff to the side. And it's just mud. It's just dirty snow. I'm like, this is terrible.
I don't do well in the cold. Number one, like I don't like the cold. So
Yeah.
a wet cold doesn't feel.
I'll say this. I don't do well in the cold either. I was so worried about the cold, but if you prepare, like there's a lot to be said for layering up. And I was scared about that because I was like, I don't want to wear layers. Like it's weird. But I did realize I was trying to be fashionable, and I realized in the snow, you can't really be fashionable. You got to just wear like some waterproof stuff that keeps you warm and just move on.
Fair. I'll tell you what, I'm so intrigued by this indoor snow place in Tennessee. Because I'm going. And if it feels like real snow and it's 60 degrees in there, I'm sold.
Can I snowboard? We need to talk about this later.
You can sled. You can do the sledding.
Okay.
I don't think you can snowboard, but there is a big like sledding thing or tubing thing.
I learned how to snowboard. I'm ready to use it.
Okay.
I need to hit the ground more. I didn't hit it enough. I need to hit the ground more. Golly, I'm too old for that. Let's close it out. Thank you guys for watching us. Appreciate it. We're almost at an hour, and if you've made it this far, it means the world to us. I said it at the beginning. I say it again at the end. Should anybody else pay attention to anything? We're closing out the bracket. Do we have more brackets coming?
I have a bunch of ideas. It was a March Madness thing, but I think I'm just gonna.
I feel like we should keep doing it because I've thought of a few too.
Yeah, I like the bread one. I thought would be funny.
Yeah.
If you got specific with it, there's shows. You can always do movies.
Yeah.
We're working on the wrestling ones. We came up with 5 or 6 for the wrestling ones.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I was thinking of it as like, from the individual pods. Like, I'm sure I can come up with like a baseball uniform one.
Sure. There's so many things. You could do food. You could do drinks. You could do like, there's so many things. Best fast food. You can come up with 64 restaurants.
Anything we've ever done a top 5 for.
Yeah.
can be a bracket. Yeah. Now that I have the file basically there, and I just got to plug in the words, do it all day long.
Love it.
If you have ideas for brackets,
please send them our way and vote. We got a lot of interaction on that, so keep that up. We appreciate that. I love all that because it gives us stuff to talk about.
Yep, it's been fun. For people who didn't prepare, this was a nice, one of the better flowing pods we've done.
That's how it goes.
The beauty of being great.
Gotta be great.
That's it. I got nothing else.
I just wanted to pretend like I froze and let it close like that. If we put this in, we put it in. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. All love.
Deuces.